Good evening, just Mark here. All right, so last night I decided to give my old man a call and ask for some advice. Here I am starting this YouTube channel, and of course, nobody actually knows that I'm doing this. And, I'm a bunch of videos in, and sometimes I'm questioning, should I keep doing this? It seems silly sometimes. But, anyways, I decided to call my dad and ask him for advice on, his business, right? He's a plumber. He's owned a plumbing business for about 30 plus years, and he's actually just about to retire. And part of the reason I asked him about it was, you know, like I asked him about his successes, his failures, any advice he would give me. And it was actually kind of an interesting conversation because he says for the most part he had no regrets on any of his business dealings over the years, and when I asked him about getting through kind of the tough spots, he said sometimes you just have to have patience and keep trying. And I asked him about mistakes, and he said, well, you're going to make mistakes, especially when you're learning how to run a business early on. And he mentioned that he made plenty of mistakes. And we even talked about, at the time in the 90s when he thought he was going to lose his business and how scary it was, and how he just kept pushing through and kept pushing through. We talked about dealing with people. And he said, there's people he's dealt with that were great partnerships over the years and some that were a little more challenging than others. But for the most part, he said, when it comes down to business, just to keep going. Sometimes you don't have a choice and you want to keep going. If you want the life that you dream of, or the life that you really want to live, then you have to push through it. And I guess what I'm taking from that conversation last night, and we talked for probably 30, 40 minutes. And there's so many different topics. We discussed everything from business and personal life and investments and things like that. We talked about how some of his best investments were actually real estate, also investing in his business, and just learning and making mistakes along the way. It was never easy, but he said, I asked him the question of, why did you do it? Why did you go into business for yourself? Because he could have just been a plumber and worked for someone else his entire life. And I remember him saying at one point that he decided he didn't really want to work for someone anymore. He also didn't want to be outside all the time on the tools. He's kind of like me and doesn't like the cold too much, hence why he's in Vancouver, like in BC, whereas I'm here in Calgary and I hate the cold. We're very similar in that sense. There's a lot of laughter, a lot of jokes, because both of him and I do use humor to kind of express what we're saying. And no, he said at the end of the day, he didn't really want to keep working for someone else. And he said there were long, long days along the way, but at the end of the day, it was his. His business was his own. And there are days when he was feasting and things were well. And there's times when there were, he was wondering where he was going to pay the next bill, right? When it came to his plumbing business. Because in his industry, there are cycles and there are ups and downs. And he started in the, I believe he said early 90s. So in his 30s, he's almost 67 now, because I'll be 48 this year. And I do plan on doing more of these conversations with my dad. I think I just wanted to talk to someone who's been in business for years and doing something for himself. And I called him because I was sitting here last night and I'm going, what am I doing all this for? Why am I trying to, whether it's YouTube or different investments or thinking about different side hustles? And part of the reason that I think about that is I think I too don't want to work for someone the rest of my life. I want to be my own boss at some point and maybe have more free time. I mean, when you think about it, when you're working for someone your entire life, and I'm 28, 29 years into working at various careers, and every so often I know that I don't like rigidity. I don't like being controlled. I do know that there's times I've been a great employee and other times I've been a terrible employee, and businesses at the end of the day, when you're working for someone else, you're just a number. You're just another person. I've worked for a lot of big companies. I've been a part of layoffs. I've been a part of the other side of layoffs where I actually had to let people go. And sometimes they were justified and sometimes they weren't. I've been fired from jobs, for some of the stupidest reasons. Some definitely my fault. Others, some situations out of my control. And I think as I get older and I look back on my life, and especially the last like 5 or 6 years of it, I want more time. I enjoy spending time with my dog. I enjoy things like I did yesterday, going out to the mountains. I want more free time to just enjoy life. And I think that's part of why I'm trying YouTube. I think if I share my experiences, and maybe it helps one person, maybe it helps nobody, but even if it helps one person, then I've done, something right. And I've been through a lot. And not just career wise, personal wise, health wise. I've been through a lot of challenges. And my dad and I have a good relationship. I mean, as I've grown as an adult, we've had a lot more frank conversations. He's been a blessing and a help to me over the course of my life. And sometimes I've sat there and I'm like, God, many times in my life I felt like a failure. Like I couldn't get ahead. Like no matter how hard I tried, I felt like I kept running into walls and didn't know how to get around them. And I think when I was home last night before I called him, these thoughts were running through my head. And, at 47, there's a part of me that feels like a failure. I went from a lot of forward momentum, owning a home and that kind of stuff, to now, starting over again, right? And I know that I'm giving myself about a 3 to 4 year timeline to get my shit together, live a good life. I mean, okay, so let me correct this. I do live a good life. I enjoy my life. I'm a happy guy. I'm a positive guy for the most part. But every so often, my head gets to me and I look at other people and I compare where their lives are at, and I get jealous sometimes because, I remember if you told me 20 years ago, I'd be 47 years old. Well, no, forget 20 years ago, 27 years ago, that I'd be this age, not married, no kids, not owning a home, worrying about retirement, wondering if I'm going to be able to afford it. I would have told you you're crazy. I thought, no, I'll be fine. I'll find a wife and I'll have some kids and, I'll be financially secure. But through a series of my own choices and other circumstances outside of my control and mistakes that have happened, I'm not where I thought I would be. And I think that's a big reason as to why I decided to take a shot at YouTube. Now, with that being said, I have been looking at other YouTubers and I do get a little bit of FOMO, like I'm doing something wrong, but the reality of it is I'm trying to be genuine on here. I don't want to be clickbaity. I don't want to be too dramatic, but I also have experiences to share. So I think after my conversation last night, I'm definitely going to start treating this like a part-time job and making it a habit to schedule time and create good content. I've learned a lot about video editing over the last little while. I'm still gaining confidence speaking on camera, and I'm still, I'm trying. And I think I've got to be proud right now. I mean, I wanted to do this in 2020, 2019, and I was so scared that I let my fear get in the way. I also had other time commitments that I couldn't seem to split up, to make things easier for myself. I didn't prioritize myself enough. And so now I have no excuse. I have all the time in the world outside of my full-time job. So while trying to now be the best employee at my full-time job, I'm going to hustle outside of those hours because I do think I've got a lot to share, and I do think that I can make this work. I can do this. So if any of you out there doubting yourself, summarize my dad's advice. Work hard. Have patience. Know that there's going to be tough times. Work through it. Look for those who are supporting you. And most of all, just keep going. Keep doing it. You're going to lack confidence. You're not always going to be, in the best position. And I think those pieces of advice that I took from him last night, I'm going to use going forward. And I'm going to write, I've already written, but I'm going to write a few more things down in regards to that. But honestly, I think his advice was good. I think we had a great conversation. And I look forward to the journey from here and moving forward. So I think my next video will kind of be about, not wasting your life. Maybe sharing a little bit about my own experiences. Actually, no. That's not what I'm going to do. In the next video, I'm going to talk and reintroduce myself properly with some basics about myself that I haven't shared yet, and then I'm going to move forward from there. This is day 3 of my 75 hard challenge, and I'm not going to lie, this is hard because I feel like I'm not rushing the video, but I feel like maybe I'll give this, 30 days instead of 75, just to help gain confidence on camera, learn to speak a little bit slower, and just to slowly get better. Because I think if I went to 1 or 2 videos a week, I probably would be producing better quality. And that's kind of the goal from here. If any of you have any tips, suggestions, I'm currently using both iMovie and Camtasia for my editing. And I'm still trying to figure out the sound processes. I got to start using my microphone a little bit more. Right now I'm just going off my iPhone. But, I've got a lot of exciting things, and I'm going to start sharing them. Because in my past, I didn't share my wins. I just kind of hid them because of the stresses we were under over the years in my previous family life here. So today, I'm going to celebrate getting good advice. I'm going to take that advice and I'm going to run with it. Anyways, I hope this was a little bit helpful, and I will see you on the next one. Cheers.